What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Just Gonna Say It podcast on Tuesday afternoon. I hope you all are having a great week. And I'm glad that you have been able to stop by and say hello and do some chatting about guitar stuff. So as always, these are ad-free live streams. So when you see this live, if you're seeing this live, it will be ad-free. If you want to use a super chat, feel free to do that. We've got a little different thing going today. We have, we did a video yesterday about custom guitars and the value of them and who finds value in them and etc. And as a kind of tag teaming with that video, I Sunday night recorded an interview with Matt from Texas Toast Guitars, and so we're going to share that today. And I'm really excited to share this with you. This is Matt and I've been friends for a long time, and I don't know why we've never done this before now. But one of the reasons I wanted to share it is because when we talk about custom guitars, or we talk about any nice guitar, to be honest with you, we talk about it on this channel all the time, how people just sort of minimize guitars to the cost of parts on a pile of wood, and therefore this guitar should only cost this much. But what they miss is the story, right? And sometimes you're not a story guy. Sometimes, you're a tighty-whitey guy, and that's all you need. And, $12 boxers are just not your thing. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. It's everybody's different. But for those of you that would like to have a story associated with your guitar, or would like to attempt to have a story associated with your guitar, as far as the build ethos, as far as the quality of it, where it comes from, all that kind of stuff, and try to get an appreciation for that, the only way to do it is to spend some time kind of getting to know the owner and the makers of these guitars. I hope at some point we get a chance to talk to Chris from Texas Toast too. But I wanted to talk to Matt, and so we did that today. So I'll tell you what, we're just going to roll this, and I'm going to be in the chat. It looks like Matt is in the chat too. So Matt from Texas Toast is actually in the chat right over here. So you're welcome to ask him any questions you want as well. You are, and then we'll get back afterwards, and we'll chat about some stuff as well. So you know what? Let's just listen to him talk. Let's see this right here. I guess obviously you're Matt from Texas Toast Guitars, and you make guitars, and you also do these workshop things. So let's first talk about the guitars. And I guess if you want to work your story into this a little bit, the Challenger is probably your staple model. It is unique from anything else, right? Like, it's not a Strat, it's not a Tele, it's not a anything. We can get into the details later, but that is a culmination of an evolution of over a decade, right? How did your guitar story start to get you here? Like, I mean, this isn't your first guitar that you built. So
yeah,
how did this start? Like, how did your guitar journey start?
Well, so I remember where I was exactly when I decided I wanted to build guitars. And it was in Amarillo, Texas, at this. Back in those days, they had magazine shops, and you could rent videos, and you could buy music on these things called albums. And I was looking at a guitar magazine. That's another thing they used to have back in the day, with these books that came out every month that had guitar things in them. And there was a little tiny ad in the back of, I think it was Guitar Player was the name of the magazine. And it was for Roberto Venn. And I'm like, boom, there you go. That's what I want to do. I want to go to this guitar building school. And I was probably 16 or 17 when I found that was a thing that you could do. And, now that's it's easy to do that, and it's a known thing. But back then, uh, it it wasn't like there was a guitar building uh, program at the local community college in wherever you live, USA. It was it. I'm not going to say it was more exclusive, but it was harder to do. And I am not one of the first wave of people who went to guitar building school. That was before me by more than a decade. Um, but when I went to guitar building school at Roberto Venn, there were a couple of places you could do it, but that was it. Um, it wasn't as easy to do as it is today. Um, Fast forward, so I did that, and I apprenticed with some guys, and I decided that it wasn't for me, and really, what happened, I know now, is I wasn't ready for that then. So my new thing, and I'll get to it, is you have to really be willing to accept that this is a calling, not just, I'm 17 years old and I'm impetuous and I'm a bratty little kid who doesn't know anything about the world, much less know anything about what it really means to make something, what it really means to create something. So I wasn't ready for I wasn't ready to get into the zen and the joys of sanding, much less all of the things that are attached to that, all the mistakes that you have to make, and all of the personal hurdles that you have to overcome. Which is, I know what I like, but I don't know how to make it, and I get mad when I can't make it right away. So rather than focus and keep working on a body of work, I'm just gonna you know throw up my hands and quit and say I'm not doing it anymore. So the Challenger came in like 2012 and maybe 2011, and it was I was out in my garage shop at the time, and I invited a bunch of people over, and I'm like, hey, let's design a really cool guitar. Well, you know that you cannot, a horse designed by committee, right? Um, so I had all these people who like were throwing all sorts of stuff that they liked at um, at the wall, and a bunch of drawings and stuff. And after everybody left, I looked at it and I'm like, well, I don't like any of this stuff. So I sat down by myself and I started to draw, and I knew that I wanted it to be single cutaway, and I knew that I wanted it to have a little bit of an offset. So I started drawing and I started drawing, and I came up with something that I really liked. And over the next decade, it has evolved. For example, the very first guitar was 12 and 3/4 or 7/8 inches wide at the widest part, because the tools that I had would only do 13-inch. So as I then it's not exactly gigantic now, but it did get a little bit wider at the widest point. And so little things like that have changed, and some different stuff. So the Challenger is it has never been particularly I'm not a competitor with Gibson or Fender, obviously. That most of the people don't know who I am or what I do, and so, but I'm very proud of that guitar. And my new thing, Dylan, is if when I'm dead and I have to stand before God and say, this is what I did with the finite amount of time that I had on this planet, I will feel comfortable. I will feel more comfortable showing off the 2025 Challenger than I would the 1989 thing that I made at Roberto Venn. So I guess my story is I just kept growing and I keep growing, and nothing's ever really done, but I do have to figure out okay, I have to somehow say, nope, just stop. This one's good. you can't keep fiddling with it. It's good. Go ahead and put a fork in it. And I think that the Challenger has a fork in it now.
I
So
if I had a choice in it, or if I had something to say about it, I would say so. I have three of them,
uh huh.
and and I've played your early ones,
Yeah.
um, and they are. And I think I've told you this before, and you and I have been at guitar shows together before, and we've walked around and looked. And there's a difference
Yeah.
between a custom guitar and a custom guitar that's really ready for market, like
Hmm.
that's refined enough that somebody doesn't. You want it to feel special, in my opinion. You want it to feel special and yours and different, but you don't want it to feel homemade, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And this guitar is
Oh.
polished and refined enough that
Hmm.
it's nice. So okay, so let's say obviously a lot of people that have never seen your stuff are going to be watching this. Um, there is a pretty big brand identity and everything with Gibson and Fender and stuff. They're a known commodity. We know what they are. So, for somebody who's never played your stuff before, what do you want them to like take away from that? Like, if you hand some to somebody, okay, let me say this: when I hand somebody a guitar with my pickups in it, there's a few
Hmm.
things that I have as goals, creative goals, that I hope they notice. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, what
I
are those
do.
things? What are those things for you, for your guitar?
Okay. I think that there's a couple obvious ones that I think every guitar maker can say. Um, what you want people to say when they pick up the guitar is either nothing or ooh light, as opposed to ooh heavy. And ooh, this finish is cool. Ooh, I like the fretwork, stuff like that. But you touched on something. Um, People are going to think that this was all scripted, but it's not. You
No.
touched on something. You said that Gibson and Fender are a known commodity. And to me, people who are guitar buyers too often treat guitars as a commodity to be bought and sold. There's nothing special about it. There's nothing remarkable about it. There's nothing noteworthy about it. And if you get it, you get it. And if you don't, that's fine. Guitar Center is open at 10 and you can buy as many Les Pauls and as many Strats and as many PRSs as you want. They're all great. You know, go do it. But you know, if you can name any of the I don't know, like any famous guitar, like big time guitar shop, like Casino Guitars, for example. And I'm not picking on Casino Guitars, but all the Les Pauls that they have at Casino Guitars came from the same factory that the ones that they have at Guitar Center came from. There's nothing special about the ones at Casino Guitar. Now they might have uh, like a special badge or this, that, or the other. They might have a different, I don't know, something that makes it unique to Casino Guitars. But at the same time, it's a factory made thing that's cool at a place that is arguably quite a bit cooler than Guitar Center. So when when you get something that is, well, it's the same thing that you can get in Amarillo, Texas, or Joliet, Illinois, as you can get at Wildwood Guitars or at Casino Guitars or at Grun Guitars. All that stuff came from the same spot. All of my guitars came from my shop, and two guys made them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, so when you and I met Abigail Ibarra, it was like, whoa, that's Abigail Ibarra.
Hmm.
And it's the same coil of a magnet with a bunch of wire wrapped around it. But when she made it, it's something special. And you can't put your finger on it. But like I said, if you get it, you get it. And if not, Seymour Duncan and DiMarzio and EMG and lots of places will be perfectly happy to sell you a nondescript set of pickups that sounds just like your friends. And Dylan, you have that too. And I say it all the time. I know when I get pickups from you that there's one guy who made them,
Hmm.
and And not anybody, I don't have any pickups that say DiMarzio on them that Larry DiMarzio wound. I don't think. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
But I know for a fact that if I get pickups from you, you made them. And
Yep.
that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
I and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you can attach a person, a living human being, and you know who it is that made it, whether it's an apple pie or a Grants Force Burks axe, they all have like who made it, and I
Yes.
think that's cool.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't get that, like they don't switch on to it, or maybe they do, but it's like way later, and they're like, man, all this other stuff that I have that is just a commodity thing. It's not that it's not cool. It's not that it's not good, because it is cool and it is good. It's just not as cool
Yeah.
or as neat or
Yeah.
as magical as as something that's so. If I could take away anything from, if people could tell me that every time they pick up one of my guitars, and of course they don't, you know what I mean? I have to lead
Right.
them into that, but I could get them to say that'd be ideal.
Yeah. whatever the little magical thing is about. Yeah. I've been saying this a lot lately, that there's a difference. Like, there's a guitar shaped thing that functions as a guitar,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then there is like a truly inspiring musical instrument. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and there, you're right. A lot of people commoditize them, and they pull the emotion and the intangibles out of it, and just make it the cost of parts. And it's like, but there's more to it than that. And if I can feel inspired by something, then I'm going to use it more, or play it more, or look at it more. I have one of my Challengers right here by my desk. It's hanging right here. And it's the one I actually play the least, but I look at it every day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's right there. And it has inspired, because we did some neat pickups for it, and it inspired me to make some other stuff. And like, it's inspiring. Like, some of my favorite guitars are hanging right here. So just so I can look at them and go, okay, this is what it's about. Like that's what I think. And I hope people do that when they play your stuff.
I hope so too. It's a lot like eating a meal. If you're only eating for sustenance and to remain alive, you just kind of shovel it in, and there's no enjoyment in it. You're working the food. You're
Right.
just working
Right.
food. And nobody works a song. You play a song. No one
Mhm.
works a book. You read the book. You don't start out the song thinking, I got to get through this one so I can get to the next one. Well, maybe you do if you play in a lousy band, but like, the whole point of playing music is to experience it and playing. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not like there's no end goal except to do it in a way that you want people to hear.
Yeah.
So
yep.
you don't
So
win.
there's MRE guitars, and then there's like fine dining guitars. Like,
Yeah.
It keeps you alive, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really curious about. I mean, I've talked to you about this enough, but just to hear you sort of rant for a minute about why you're moved to build what you build. So then that means my next question would be, and again, I know most of this stuff, but I'm asking for the benefit of our audience too. What are some of people are going to want to know what makes Texas Toast different? I know that there are actual engineering decisions about all of your guitars, across all of your guitars, and then some of your specific models that are things. Maybe you didn't come up with them. Maybe they were inspired by other people, but they have come together in your instruments. So why Texas Toast? What is special on the technical side for the people that just want to be nerds about it?
I think the technical, the thing that, and I didn't make this. I didn't design it. One of the things that we do now, and again, it's a known thing, but you got to remember, a dozen years ago, having a 7-degree headstock angle was like, why not just make it exactly what Gibson is,
Mm-hmm.
or PRS or anybody else who has an angled headstock? And there's a lot of reasons for that, and we kind of stumbled on that. Um, as it turns out, um, getting a piece of vertically oriented 8-quarter lumber, you can with a headstock that's about as long as ours, you can do a 7-degree or 8-degree headstock angle with less lumber than you can a 14 or 17-degree headstock, or even 10-degree headstock, which is what PRS uses on some models. And so we landed on we basically took a block of wood and said, let's figure out as much headstock angle as we can get with this chunk of wood, and it was 7 degrees. Um, Come to find out that one of my guitar building, a mentor that I have never actually met, so I guess it's not a mentor, influence, was Dan Armstrong, the guy who made the clear guitars. His headstocks originally had 7-degree headstock angles too, and I'm like, oh well, that makes sense. And remember, like, I bought his guitars, he didn't buy mine, so like I came way after. I
Yeah.
think I relearned some of what the old school stuff is in terms of design and what'd you call it, technical specs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been an important thing for me, is relearning the way that the reason why people did what they did, and using the tools that they use gives me some insight into, oh yeah, you can do this. So for example, remember you've been out at the shop and we're like, we have the neck ready, we need to cut the neck pocket for the neck. Let's wrap a bunch of tape around the pin so that it makes the neck pocket smaller, and we'll remove a layer of tape every time until the neck fits exactly perfectly right. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that there were guys at Fender and or Gibson or anywhere else that did that stuff, but I have to think that there were, you know, because there are some neck pockets that are tighter than others, and it could
Mm-hmm.
be that like the templates were getting old or whatever, but it could be that Bob at Fender, every time he fit a neck, he did that, or he knew when the templates were getting old, I'm going to size my pin up a little bit so it makes the neck pocket smaller,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm gonna design a tool that works to shape a neck with a great big sander behind it. So to me, the technical things that we do really are more of a way for us to understand how the old school guys did it, even if we're 100% wrong. But even if we use if we use the tools that they had and we get close and we're like, oh, this might be one of the ways that they did it back in the day to get good, you know. Um, and I think that you miss that if you have only a CNC machine and you design stuff in CAD and you work it out, and you make it, and perfect guitar every time. Cool.
Yeah.
Um, and it is cool, but it you don't necessarily know why. So if it is important to you as it is important to me to know why they did what they did, not just that they did it, then you don't make the mistake of, well, why did you make your headstock angle whatever it is? If your answer is well and truly I like it, okay, or that's just the way we always did it, that gets less of a thing. But if you come up with something, if you say tone, I don't buy it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I, if somebody throws the I like it, okay, I just like it, then you can't really argue with that. But if you can't tell me uh, why you're doing it, other than, well, that's the way that so and so did it, and I don't know why they did it, um, and you say something like tone, well, I don't buy it. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you can
Yeah.
hear it, but I can't. So
Yeah. So, um, and I think that's what's the other interesting thing about the evolution of your guitars is there is an engineering evolution. And
Yeah.
if for those of you that don't follow his channel, you should, because you'll hear over time the engineering decisions that come about in a guitar. Even we'll talk about classes and stuff here in a minute, but when you do these things, everything goes through like an engineering phase. I've seen version 1 of a guitar that got cut up, and then version 2 of a guitar is this, but then, oh, wait a minute, we decided that this neck joint didn't work like we wanted to, or whatever. And so there's real engineering going on in your shop. It's not just putting parts together. What was I going to ask you about that? So that being said, the other thing I want to talk to you about and ask you about and have you articulate from your perspective is your concept. So for those of you that don't know, he has a few model lines, the Challenger, the Icon, and now the new Hustler series. Those are probably your 3 main ones, right?
I'm hoping that the Hustler has become a main one, although what I discovered originally was a lot of the stuff that looked cool. Okay, I'm gonna level with you. The reason that I made the Hustler guitars is because I hated a lot of guitars that people were playing. And I'm like, I need to put pencil to paper and design something that I hate.
Really?
And that's what I did. Yep. So I hated the Hustler guitars. I hated all of them. And when you see all of them, there are some that I still hate and others that I'm like, I kind of dig that. The one that I hated the most and the one that was universally hated by everybody in the shop when it was in drawing form was the one that we got. It's the first one that sold.
The one with the cream pickups and the fabric top.
Yep.
That thing's rad.
Everybody hated that guitar when it was a pencil drawing on paper. And in fact, there were 4 others that I liked better that all got flame maple tops, and that's why that one has a fabric. I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this one to set it apart? I don't want it to just be, that the body on that one's mahogany. So I'm like, I don't want it to just be plain brown. I want it to look a little cooler. So we fabriced it up, and I'm like, for as much as I hated it in drawing form, I really, really like it in real life. And I think that Chris has had stuff like that he's done like in CAD. He's like, wow, look at this. This is really neat. I really like this. Let's do it. And then we make it a guitar and it's like, wah, wah. It's not as
And this
cool.
went the other way. This went the opposite way.
Yep.
You started out not liking it and now you like it. So go ahead.
I was inspired by, I want to make sure that this is very clear. Even though I hated the guitar on paper, I don't want it to come off weird because I was inspired by our buddy Carlos. Yeah. He had some really neat guitars, and I'm like, man, I like the design where he's going with that design wise. I need to come up with something like that on my own. But it can't be so traditional like the Challenger or the Icon is, which is like very, very traditional. When you pick those up, they feel very familiar. I wanted something that sat nice but looked weird, and what I'm not saying. What I am saying is that I didn't like them on paper, but I thought I need to still push forward with these. What I'm not saying is that I don't like Carlos's guitars.
Right.
Carlos, if you're watching, don't hear that. I love your guitars. I'm trying to draw inspiration from them. So, yeah.
Yes. And sometimes you have to push your own envelope a little bit to go into a new direction. So one of the things I love about what you do with your brand, and I want to share this with other people. I want you to share it with other people, is your concept on quality versus price point. Because a lot of people will say, well, this guitar is good for the money. But if you go from your base model Challenger, which is it's entry-level American Telly kind of money, right?
Yeah.
It's not custom guitar money. It's attainable money, right? So it's on up to these really custom things that you're doing now, like with the Hustler and stuff and fabric tops and all.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about, because a lot of people say, well, that guitar is good for the money. Is this one worth it? Is this Squire worth it more than this one? Because this one's $500 and this one's $800. Talk to me about your quality versus price point kind of concept, because this is something that a lot of other guitar companies don't do the same way you do it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
First of all, it's a good guitar for the money is another way of saying this guitar is a pile, but you get used to it. You know what I mean? This guitar is a big hunk of manure, but after a while, you get used to it. So our guitars are definitely not that, and that's reflected in the price point. Now, what we've decided is what can you do to make the guitar still play great. The guitar has to play great and sound great and feel great and be something that you're proud of in order for it to be even a semi-custom guitar, I think. And the Challenger Level 1 is our most modestly priced instrument right now, that you can just go on the website and spec and buy. I mean, we've got some stuff that we built in classes that are less, but we have the only places where we have cut corners are options and finish. So the very first guitars that TTG guitars ever were, they had no finish on them. They were all oil finish. And you can imagine, and I'm going to, smearing oil onto a piece of wood is kind of marginalizes that finish. But for the most part, you smear oil on the wood and it's done. It's not, there's no wet sanding, there's no buffing, there's no sealing, there's really the only prep work that you have is sanding, which you would have if you were going to spray lacquer or urethane or something like that. And the finish doesn't make the guitar play better or sound better. In fact, a lot of people might think it makes the guitar play worse and sound worse. So a guitar that feels smooth and like wood, a lot of people like that feeling. So some pieces of lumber feel better when they have a smooth oil finish on them. I think that maple and woods like maple feel good when they have oil finish on them. They don't always look good when you have a maple fretboard. If you get a bunch of, mung and gype and stuff on it. But if you have a rosewood fretboard with a maple neck, it feels good. It looks good. And it plays good. I remember when I started doing this, I was like, I'm going to do some things. I'm not going to have any controls. I'm just going to wire one pickup right to the jack. Well, why would you do that? Well, because at the time on guitar forums, people talked about two things: thick, gloppy poly finishes. And of course, what they meant was overly saturated polyester resin sealer that was so thick that if a chunk of it came off, you could see it. And so they didn't like thick poly finishes. And the other thing they didn't like was wrong wire, wrong pots. I'm like, let's just throw all that stuff out the window. Let's put oil finish and wire it right to the jack. So all that stuff is all of a sudden bypassed. Well, nobody wanted that. You know what I mean? Nobody wanted to put their money where they put their mouth was on that deal. So we're like, okay, what can we do to lessen that? Well, we can use fewer controls. We can thinner finishes. And then we thought, if you want to build a guitar to, not to a price point, but build a guitar with the least amount of extras that you can, you put the least amount of finish on it that you can. Oil finish didn't really go. People didn't want it, generally speaking. I'm sure there's one guy out there who's like, well, I like oil finishes. And people as it turns out, didn't want stuff wired right to the jack. All right, well let's kind of cut through some of this, and let's put the best pickups that we can. You know, what are the best pickups that we can get for the least amount of money? Well, that's Dylan's P90s. There you go. You can't do better than that. They've already got the wire that everybody wants. You wire them up to CTS pots and right out the jack. Boom. As of right now, you don't get to pick. You get P90s, and our loaded package comes with your P90s. If you wanted to get like an even lesser version than that, you can get one with our pure juice pickups, which are really just, some P90s that we get. You'll want to upgrade them, or I can save you $100 and we can upgrade them for you from the factory. Um, but that's a way you can do it. You can skimp on some stuff, but like I will not skimp on. I would rather skimp on finish than I would on, say, a bridge, you know, or than I would on, say, I would rather spend, if I only have 2 hours to do fretwork and finish, I would rather spend more time doing fretwork than making finish nice and shiny and look good, because then the guitar looks good, but we're right back to it looks good, and for the money it plays okay, which is, as we already decided, once you get used to it, it doesn't feel as junky. It looks cool, but it doesn't play good. I know for a fact that one of our guitars with our durable thin finish and your pickups sound awesome, and it's got all the other good stuff. It's got all the other same stuff on it as our more expensive guitars. The more expensive guitars just have more expensive things, more expensive woods. It's got binding, it's got inlay, it's got more finish on it, or a different finish on it, or more pickups, or more choices. That's kind of the big one too. Um, People don't get this, but like, well, how come I can't get a level one with humbuckers? Well, I mean, I suppose you could, but right now we've got stuff ready to go for level ones, and they're all routed for P90s, and we, get them into color, and we load them up with all the stuff, and you get it faster. If what you want is a level one with humbuckers and a trim, what you're really specking is a level two with a different finish on it, which is fine too.
Right.
So I don't know if that answered the question or if it was just me rambling.
No, I mean, I think it's a good. I love that people are hearing all this, because a lot of times it's, well, what bridge is on this cheap guitar? What tuners are the tuners good on the cheapest one? Are the what? And the bottom line is this: your highest end challenger and I love how you call it entry point, not entry level. Your entry point challenger has the same. If it's spec the same, like, if it's spec the same as far as like features, let's say it's the same hip shot bridge. It's the same truss rod. It's the same cryogenically treated frets. It's the same. You are the same person does the frets on the less expensive guitar and the more expensive guitar. So literally,
the process is exactly the same.
Right. So on a $1,500 guitar, you're getting a $3,500 fret job because the same guy is doing it. Hand cutting the nuts, all those things are all being done exactly the same way. So the quality of the instrument is the same at the entry point guitar as it is at the high end. And it's like a car. All you're really doing is clicking check boxes and adding more stuff on is the only reason the guitar is more expensive.
Yeah.
Really.
The Les Paul Studio I remember when that guitar came out, and it was like, oh, it's the reason they call it the Studio, of course, was because no one was going to see it. It was in the studio. And so it didn't matter that it had, I think the original ones had a maple top, but at the time it was like, well, it didn't matter if it had inlay or binding or any of that stuff. It didn't have to look like the most expensive thing, because it was all we really cared about was what it did sonically. Fast forward 40 plus years, and the Les Paul Studio all of a sudden has flame maple and inlays, and it's like, well, why don't you just get the guitar that you again, there's a reason that I'm not the CEO of Gibson, but nobody would want that. But I think that like having lower priced instruments is a thing. Having guitars at different price points is a thing, and I like having that. Now, um, the upside to that is most people don't get that guitar. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
like, gosh, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I could get, for just a few dollars more, I could get the guitar that has a maple top, or I could get the guitar that has the 57, finishes on it, or it has binding, or it has shiny lacquer, or whatever it is that you want.
Mm-hmm.
But if all you really want is a guitar that is good and costs what the Challenger Level 1 costs, that's the best guitar that you can get for that money. But like that's actually made by guitar builders for that money. Yeah,
In Colorado,
Yep.
we are not, and to be very clear about this, these are not parts that are made somewhere else and then shipped to Colorado and then none of this stuff. This is all, and for those of you that don't follow his YouTube channel, you should go follow it, because Texas Toast Guitars YouTube channel, because you'll see it. He's very transparent about showing this stuff in videos and stuff. So you really get to see that a lot. The other thing I want to talk about, because the guitars are awesome. So just go to texastoastguitars.com and look. You really need to. And if you are on the fence about buying a guitar from somebody other than Gibson or Fender or whatever, this is a way that you can get into an American-made custom or semi-custom guitar for, they're cheaper than almost everything I have on the wall over here. Like, it blows my mind sometimes. So
to be fair, Dylan, we'll be happy to sell someone a more expensive guitar.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah. But every one of them that I have, well, not every one of them. I have a couple more nicer ones, but they're way less. All the cool, even my Paisley, I have some really cool stuff. Less than a Les Paul, less than an SG. So. And we're talking about a handmade guitar in the United States. So this is really cool.
I guess you said something about being transparent, and yeah, I think you can look at the Level 1 and go, oh, well, it's obvious that there's more stuff on these other ones that cost more. And if you can't look at it and go, well, that's obvious, call me up and I'll tell you exactly what the differences are and how much it costs. And it's really all about materials and time.
Right.
A carved quilt maple top, just the lumber. I'm not saying it always does, but it could cost $4,000, $5,000, $1,000 just for the wood for some of these things.
Right.
Now, as you can imagine, that's everybody, people who are listening, as you can imagine, that is one heck of a nice piece of maple for $1,000. But not every piece of maple is $1,000. I get it. But if you spend that kind of money, you get a next level kind of thing. So
yeah. So the other thing I want to talk to you about that you do that nobody else has ever done, we could even do an entire podcast just on this particular subject, I swear, is I want to talk about the 5280 Luthier Workshop, because not only do you build guitars every day, but every month you have people come into your shop, use your tools, and teach people to build guitars with your tools.
Now, point of order. I think there are some other guys doing this. Now, they're not as good looking as me, but there are some other guys doing it. I think John Sullivan's doing it still. And in fact, if push came to shove, I might say that I got the idea from Sully, but I don't know. But
he's Sully Guitars?
Yeah. He's not nearly.
He just texted me the other day, actually.
He doesn't have a mustache. He's cool, but come on.
Yeah.
I like John a lot. It's important to me to become good at your craft, learn your craft and become good at it. love what you do, and like I said before, when you are done with your finite amount of time on this spinning rock, and you have to, stand before your God, and I have to stand before mine, and justify what I did, all of the rotten stuff that I did. I want there to be something good and say, this is what I did with the talents that you gave me, and this is what I learned to do with the time that I had on the earth. And um, and it's also important to let other people know, to teach other people that want to know um, what it's like to do this. Now, we do not, as of right now, offer like a semester long or a year long or even apprentice program. But what we do offer is in 5 weeks, a way to kind of whet your appetite a little bit and figure out, hey, this is something that was really fun. I want to know more. I want to peel back the layer of that onion a little bit. And I want to, we've had guys who've come out to one of our workshops, and one guy in particular, maybe some more, but we had one guy, Mike. He came to a workshop, built a left-handed SG with us. He, I don't know if it was immediately went to work or went to Roberto Venn, but it was very, very immediate, very much almost right after he was done at our place. He's like, this is good. I like this. I want to go to Roberto Venn. He did. Last I heard, he works for Gibson now in Montana building acoustic guitars. So I take a lot of pride in knowing that at least one guy does this for a living now, and I had a very small part. I had a small role in that. Now, I know for a fact there are other guys who do this. They get a lot of enjoyment from it. They get a lot of man, if I was Russell Brand, I would probably be able to fire off all sorts of vocabulary. But they take a lot of joy from doing this, even if they don't, even if they're retired and they do it just for fun. Or there are guys who it's just as important to go, wow, you know what? That's a lot of work. I don't want to do that anymore. I only want to, I just want to, I want to play the guitar. I don't want to make them. You've said it yourself. Gosh, I don't want to. Before you did this, I really wanted to build guitars and wind pickups. Ugh, that was more work than I was prepared for. I don't think I want to do that. I think that's just as important too. So, if you can, when it's all said and done, if you can say that you helped people discover something that brings them joy, and you help them build a skill set, maybe that's a terrific thing. I think that guitar building is a trade. And the reason they call it trade is once you trade someone your time for their knowledge, it is up to you to trade it with somebody else for their time. So
yep. Paying it forward in a way. Yeah, that's really cool.
So.
Yeah. So for those,
it's funny, like I get into this like weird spirituality thing, but it really is true. There's a lot of people who don't connect with it on a level that is grander than they are, and that's too bad, because they can do that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I have to love what I do, and I've always told, I say it all the time on my channel that and tell my customers and clients that my job is, if you only have this many hours and this much money to spend on your hobby this week, because you're stuck selling insurance on a Tuesday, I want you to watch one of my videos and get the most that you can out of your hobby so that you can enjoy it the most that you can. So if you buy a Texas Toast guitar, or you go out there and learn how to build one once and never again, and then you just go buy one, it's just like mine. I have it hanging here, and I can refer to it, and I can feel inspired by it. And it's more than just parts hanging up there. Like I think that's really, it's important. I think I'm really trying to focus on that on my channel right now, talking to people about
that's awesome.
about just taking it out of that commodity phase and being like, no, this is we're creating things, that we're making stuff. This is art. This is, and I don't care how you do it. If you take my pickups and your guitar and plug it into a laptop and make some kind of music that I don't even like, I don't care. If you're inspired to create something, that's all that matters. Like, or if you want to hang it on the wall and it's a piece of art, I'm not offended by that either. I appreciate it.
You and I both know a lot of guys who do both those things.
Yeah. And, and in fact, you and I both know people who've come and learned how to wind pickups, learned how to build guitars, who don't even play. But they just want the experience. They just want the appreciation of the thing, which I think is really cool.
You may not know, or maybe you do. In fact, I bet you do. I think that you and I are responsible for at least one person in the, Dan, I'm going to say autumn years of your life. Dan just started playing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say that you and I are wholly, the reason that Dan started playing the guitar, but I think that we had something to do with that. And, Dan Andreas came out and he wound pickups and he built guitars and he's a cool guy. And it wasn't easy for him to get down to the shop to do that. He had to come from a different country to do it. And there's been a lot of people who've done that. And he's like, you know what? I want to start playing the guitar. And a lot of guys start playing the guitar when they're 8 or 10 or 15, not when they're 50 or 60, And
he built his first guitar.
Jay has done that. And
yes,
Jay Valentine has done Valenti. I'm sorry, not Jay Valentine. I get his name wrong. Jay, I'm sorry. But you and I know a lot of people who we have been a stepping stone in their journey to start something that they can do for the rest of their lives, no matter how long that is.
Yep. I've got a customer out and he was a Patreon member for a while out in Arizona who had started watching my stuff years and years ago. And now he runs a little weekend repair shop out of his house. I don't know that it's his whole real job, but he's, and we've got another good friend from Canada he's got a guitar line. He's got guitars in stores now.
Absolutely.
So these things are real things that can happen.
I really do think that Don is going to surpass me any day now. So I think.
Yeah. He has drive to learn and get better. That is it's admirable for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I appreciate you coming and talking a little bit. No problem. I wanted people to get to know you a little bit, kind of get to know the story about the brand. And I think that this was a good conversation to take the idea of, first of all, making a custom guitar made in the United States approachable and attainable for people. And also to hopefully push people in the direction of, this is not toilet paper, this is not socks and underwear, that this is something that you're going to have forever. That is a piece of art that is you have a connection with because they can draw more of a connection with you. So hopefully that worked. Hopefully that helped.
I hope so too. And you know what? Even if they don't buy a guitar from me, maybe there's no 15-year-old kid who's like, oh man, my first guitar is going to be a TTG. No, it's not. He's going to want, he or she is going to want whatever their favorite guitar player plays. And I get that. That's fine. But when they come around to going, like you said, hey, this isn't just a Ziploc bag. This is important. This is worthy of me treating it as the heirloom that it is. And you can have a love affair with one guitar or lots of guitars and playing the guitar and playing music if you stop working the thing and if you stop working the music and you just let it happen and make moves, So that's my thing.
Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Well, that was pretty stinking cool. I have to say, he's one of my best friends, and so yeah, I might be a little biased, but I hadn't heard some of that stuff. I've drank a lot of coffees with Matt and spent a lot of time with him, and I've not heard some of those stories until we did that interview. So a lot of new things to learn there. What I want you, I hope you take away from this, seeing this, is that whole thing of making a connection with the maker of the guitar and the final product. Because like we keep saying, it's not just a pile of parts hanging on the wall, right? There's a lot of time and intention that goes into to building a guitar like that, and having that kind of connection is really, really cool. Here's what I will say. Go to texastoastguitars.com and look at their models. Their least expensive Challenger, I think, is $15.99. Okay. Which is not a lot of money. They also have the Affirm thing. So you can do, like, when people buy pickups and loaded pickguards and stuff, they use that kind of like Affirm paymenty thing, split it over 90 days or whatever. So he has that available on his website as well. I'm going to tell you right now, it's the best guitar at $15.99 there is right now. When it comes to just being a good rock and roll guitar that does everything. Yeah. And my pickups aren't in all of them, but you can request to have my pickups in them if you want. And then the other thing is, definitely while you're on the website, check out 5280 Workshops. That's their kind of their sub brand where they do all of these workshops. And one thing I want you to understand about that whole deal is that this is not for guitar builders, really. Now, it can be, like, everybody can learn something, right? Even if you're a guitar builder. If you've never used a bandsaw before, if you've never, maybe you're just okay with tools, but you're not, maybe you've never built a guitar before. Maybe you've never built a cabinet in your bathroom, whatever. Maybe you don't feel that you're overly handy. I've been in the room with people like that, and Matt and Chris do everything they can to make sure that you succeed. And in 5 days, have a guitar that starts as a piece of wood and ends as a fully functioning guitar. So it's really, really cool. And these are not like parts casters. You're actually doing frets. You're actually doing stuff. Like, it's really, really neat. It depends on the class, what you're doing. There's a whole bunch of different ones. But even if you just want to dip your toe in it, the reason I recommend it is because when we talk about appreciating the instrument for what it is, if you sand a guitar and then you paint that guitar and then you're like, oh, there's that little sand scratch right there, I wish I would have got that out. Or, maybe all of your frets are absolutely perfect, and then there's that one that sort of bugs you, that you had to have Matt help you with a few times. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, when I get a guitar from Sweetwater and this is a little off, I can kind of tell why now, the amount of work that goes into it. It really helps raise the appreciation for what goes into every instrument, but especially the ones that you make. So I think it's really cool. It's a cool thing. I'm actually going out there, I think, in August. We've got some details to work out, I think, but I'm going to be going out there in August, and we're actually going to be teaching some people how to wind pickups. It's the latter part of August. So like the week of here. Because if you've not signed up, if there's still room, I don't know if there's still room in this class or not. I think it is the 16th to the 22nd. I think that's it. And if I'm wrong, Matt will get in the comments. And we will give you more details. If you want to know about that and you're not sure, we can get with you, but it's pretty neat. You guys, this is awesome. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate y'all being a part of this today. Please go to texastoastguitars.com, support them. Go to Dylan Talks Tone and support me. If you buy their guitars and ask for my pickups, it supports me anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. But if you want to go to both places and buy something today, that's pretty cool. Also, you can go in the description below and use any of the other links for any of the other StewMac and Sweetwater and all that other stuff down there to support us as well as these links right here for Patreon and everything else. You scan that little box right there, that takes you right to Dylan Talks Tone. So, and we actually have 2 Texas Toast Challengers here in stock at Dylan Talks Tone that you could only get from me. They're on our website right there. So, kind of some special edition things. I think you'll dig them. We had one in a video yesterday. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video.